February 1st, miserable weather in half the country. We don't have President Trump anymore in the White House. There are lots of reasons to be depressed. Do not fall for it, folks. There are also lots of reasons to be excited. This can be a time of preparation and appreciation. First, appreciating President Trump. Hey, what would you have preferred, huh? 2 terms of Mitt Romney or 1 term of President Trump? I'd go with 1 term of President Trump. And by the way, it's not necessarily 1 term. He could come back in 2024 in a spectacular way, and it will make all of this worthwhile. He's done it before, by the way. This book, which I'm going through right now, I highly recommend, The Art of the Comeback, one of the best-selling nonfiction books of all time. Donald Trump lost it all and did manage to come back, and the rest is history. History, though, that is still being written. Meanwhile, we keep our eye on Joe Biden. Not impressing many people. Number 1, the lack of energy. Number 2, he's making good on a lot of promises that he did not make during the campaign. At least he didn't talk about it. Big things and small things. Did you know this, that LGBTQ flags will now be flown on American embassies throughout the world during Pride Month? I just never considered this much of a priority. The LGBTQ flag is fine, I guess, at the parade, but is it something that should be flying above our embassies? Aren't the flags meant to bring us together? They call it the Union Jack in the UK, right? Brings us together. I just don't see this as bringing us together. Your orientation, whatever, that's kind of your orientation. I had a friendly argument about this at work today. Somebody said, well, you've got the American flag. You know, we need this flag. I said, I've got the American flag. That flag connotes heterosexual white male. Of course it doesn't. That is our flag. That's what it's all about. But I looked it up. Guess what? There is a heterosexual flag. Did you know that? Yeah, somebody made one up and they have had a parade here and there. That's it. They're the official flag of those who are straight. It's ludicrous, of course, but if you want to play that game, well, I'm not going to play that game because that game is divisive, in my opinion. This headline, I saw it on my cell phone, a news alert. And for a moment, I just thought, like, what country am I living in? Take a look at this, please. This came over my phone. Manhattan, New York. White people traveled to a hard-hit Latino neighborhood in New York and took many of the COVID-19 vaccine appointments. How about that? White people trying to get COVID shots. Is that unity? Is that what Joe Biden was talking about during the campaign? No. And we're all noticing that what's happening right now is not the stuff that he talked about. Here's something that I don't think is particularly unifying, and quite frankly, I think it's exploitive and sad. The impeachment trial will be happening next week. Did you know that the officer, Brian Sicknick, who was killed in the aftermath, he died in the aftermath of the January 6 riots? He'll be receiving honors, but they'll be in the Capitol Rotunda, which I think is fine. But how about this? He died on January 7th. It's 3.5 weeks later. Do you think there might be something political about how they're doing this now? A memorial / funeral 3.5 weeks after the time of death? I know of no culture where that's normally done, no religion, but I have a feeling that politics is at work here. Politics. Again, the stuff that Joe Biden talked about during the campaign, I'm not seeing any of it from his administration.
My overarching objective is to unify this country. We're going to unite this country. It's time to unite this country. I'll govern as an American president to unite and to heal.
Okay, it's the kind of thing you say in a campaign, but what does it actually mean? Apparently, the Biden people don't know for themselves. Let's go to the Washington Post. Put up the headline, please. Biden struggles to define his unity promise for a divided nation. They report even coming up with a common definition for what unity should mean has proved impossible to unify around. The article goes on to state, I do think it means a lot of different things, said John Anzalone, a top Biden advisor and campaign pollster. When we would ask people in polls what was Joe Biden's message, they understood it was unity. They would say bringing people together or unity. Funny that they were asking the people. Next, please. It may have meant different things to them, Anzalone added. Maybe it was bringing the different parties together or healing the country by using a different tone and demeanor. You see what's happening here? Even they don't know, all right? They were using it as a campaign slogan with nothing really behind it. So the president of the United States has an awesome opportunity to unify this country, right? He's the president. He's not doing that. And guess what? Liberals and conservatives are noticing. But you know what the liberal media are doing? They're spending their time calling us out.
But instead, we get this over on Newsmax. Look at this. Biden's plan to destroy America. It looks like some crazy comic book movie or something, or some action hero movie.
What's the problem? Stinchfield did a great job that night. I saw the episode, and he's talking about some of Joe Biden's radical ideas that, yes, could fundamentally change this country, if not wreck it. And oh, by the way, CNN, I've seen them take all kinds of crazy liberties with their headlines. Donald Trump must be destroyed, huh? How about for years they were saying that he's a racist, he's a predator. Oh, and Donald Trump is a spy.
Here are 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. How many years in journalism have you been? How many years?
Many years.
Many years. Did you ever think you'd be writing this piece?
No. I mean, this is like something out of the Manchurian Candidate
Totally.
or the Americans. I mean, this is the realm of spy fiction becoming reality. It would have seemed bonkers until Trump, but it's not bonkers anymore.
Actually, it was bonkers. It was all bonkers, and they never were held to account. They never apologized. So they were really good at being over-the-top critical of Donald Trump. But now that we have Joe Biden, he gets a great, big, fat, free pass. So these are snarky, highly critical people. What do they do with that energy? They focus it on conservative media.
The word censorship's been invoked almost 400 times on Fox this month alone, and more than 300 times on Newsmax. And Tucker Carlson is telling viewers that this network, CNN, is trying to force Fox News off the air, which is patently false.
What he just said is patently false. Patently false. He had his chief media critic over there, Oliver Darcy, reach out to cable companies and ask them questions about why you're carrying such networks as Fox, Newsmax, OAN. The mainstream media wrote 1 million stories about this stuff going back a few weeks ago. Okay? Wow. What else from that guy?
Harm reduction is possible. Harm reduction is possible by adding more news and less opinion to the content. This is not ultimately about freedom of speech. It's about freedom of reach.
Oh, how profound, how profound. As they engage in this conversation, that threatens conservative media, talking about cable companies dropping us, talking about advertisers pressuring them into walking away. And it's interesting. He says that the solution to all this is more news, less opinion. And who does he go to next? An opinion columnist from the New York Times.
It's been really sad to see them absorb a message that the coronavirus is nothing serious, that masks don't work, that Trump won re-election, and that the big danger is from Antifa rather than the right. And, you know, I believe in diversity of opinion as much as anybody. I believe we need a marketplace of ideas, but we all know that there are red lines.
Are red lines. And apparently the marketplace of ideas that he likes are ideas that conform with his ideas. Crazy ideas like that there's a threat from Antifa, a greater threat from Antifa than crazy right-wing zealots. Well, all summer long, we saw hundreds of riots. We saw one on January 6th waged by the right. Masks don't work. Hey, I've never said they don't work. I just reported on what Dr. Fauci said in March on 60 Minutes when he said they could probably bring on more issues inadvertently because you're always touching your face. That was Dr. Fauci. What else did he say here? Oh, nothing serious. COVID was nothing serious. Well, again, Dr. Fauci said this is something that the American public doesn't have to worry about. He said it on this show in January, okay? We're just reporting what the officials say. And you know what? There isn't one view on these matters, no matter how smart Nicholas Kristof and his friends think they are. One more thing from him.
It seems to me that Fox and OAN and Newsmax have genuinely cost lives with the way they've reported, quote unquote, the pandemic. And, I think that red line needs to be drawn in a way that will minimize the kind of damage that I see here and that we've seen nationwide. It's not about censorship.
The red line. What the hell is he talking about? And you know what? How offensive is that? The guy hasn't spent a moment watching this show, and he says that we've caused lives. Here's what I know about the New York Times, where Nicholas Kristof works. That paper, more than any private institution in the world, authorized and sanctioned the Iraq war, the invasion of Iraq, which was so needless, so stupid, so unnecessary. That guy, his colleagues at the New York Times, they gave the green light. It never would have happened without the New York Times. They were instrumental in making that fiasco a reality. As far as the election, reasonable people have had concerns from the beginning about the election. And how about reasonable and very powerful people in government?
So far, we haven't seen widespread fraud. But so far, we haven't tried it. Well, and the point is that a lot of us, there are several states that only have mail-in voting, including a Republican state.
Well, this is playing with fire. This is playing with fire. We're a very closely divided country here. And if people have to have confidence in the results of the election and the legitimacy of the government, and people trying to change the rules to this methodology, which, as a matter of logic, is very open to fraud and coercion, is reckless and dangerous. And the people are playing with fire.
The rules were changed, and we have not found out, I think, we haven't had the final word on that. And the Supreme Court may yet rule on the constitutionality of some of those rule changes. For instance, Pennsylvania is still on the docket in front of the Supreme Court. You know, this whole notion that it was President Trump who whipped up everybody into a frenzy over the election and that he did it on January 6th, people had concerns from the get-go, from the very earliest stages. These three guys, I loved them. They were on the This Week with Stephanopoulos when Martha was filling in, right after they called the election for Joe Biden. This is mid-November.
There's a recipe for disaster when they decided to have these mail-in votes. I don't think there's any way of proving the person that mailed that in is the person that actually did it.
You look at what secretaries of state have said, they have seen no evidence of massive fraud.
From my vantage point, there's too many smoke and mirrors in terms of ballots appearing here, reappearing there, disappearing here, this, that, and the third. Where there's smoke, there's fire. When we deal with globalists and liberalism, I'd put absolutely nothing past them. There's no way. It just doesn't smell right. Too many irregularities.
For a lot of people, irregularities didn't seem fair. Look, Joe Biden is the president, but it seems like they are trying to delegitimize and perhaps criminalize anyone who has a concern about what happened on November 3rd and the buildup to it. Look at this from the Department of Homeland Security, a security bulletin. They say the threats out there are being fueled by false narratives that could continue to mobilize or incite violence. False narratives. It's an interesting line that I don't think the Department of Homeland Security should be using. False narratives. According to whom? According to the media? According to Joe Biden? When do they determine what's true and what's not true? Have they determined the Pennsylvania case at the Supreme Court? Did they get to make that call? No, they don't. All right, so Joe Biden is the president. I accept that, and he's going to be there for a while. I still will call on Joe to do two very basic things, and man, oh man, oh man, this could put you in a whole new category in my book. Seriously, one of utmost respect. Number one, you got to call off the case, the impeachment case against Donald Trump. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but wow, would that go a long way? We all know this case is not going to succeed against President Trump, so why not just call it off? That would do a lot to bring the country together. Also, get big tech off our back. Get them out of areas they know nothing about. Let's make it an even playing field for all ideas. If it's a bad idea, it'll die its own death. How does that sound? I think it sounds great. And Joe Biden, you campaigned on bringing us together. Do your words mean anything? Were you really a new candidate in 2020, or were you that candidate we met in 1987?
What law school did you attend, and where did you place in that class? And the other question is, could you quickly, I think I
probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the international moot court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Everything he just said was a lie. Everything, from the college honors to the law school honors to his class rank, all of it, and he was caught, and he had to drop out just a couple of weeks later. He was what, 45, 46 years old? Do men of that age, already in the United States Senate for what, 12, 15 years, undergo a metamorphosis? I don't think so. You know who was great about this? The late, great Johnny Carson.
One of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech. And apparently, he quoted I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him. And then he was charged also with taking part of Bobby Kennedy's speeches. And Biden says, not to worry. He reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
He was a national joke, and I'm afraid not too much has changed. But Joe, Mr. President, I'm sorry. Again, so much respect. 2 simple things. Drop the case, call on Congress to do that, and say something about big tech. All right? Fair enough? Fair enough.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.